Oh lord.
Technology works.
Jesus Christ.
We got a total
silly.
of 0 viewers.
Holy shit.
Huzzah!
Hello.
Yeah, Cloud from the Raiders in Hood's division.
Captain Victor from 4 New Jersey. Yep.
Hello, Captain James from the 88th New York.
Oi, Colonel Lucian here from the 15 Wisconsin, the most sane Scandinavian in here.
Oh, all right. I see how it is. He's starting to get ready.
Getting back for last week. Okay.
He's just going to kneel. Yep. Hey, Killer. It seems like the stream can't hear you. Nice.
Wow.
That happened last time as well, I remember.
Technology problems once again.
They give me technology and then they don't help me fix it. There we go. Look,
Yeah, now he's
What
we're
a
in.
great start.
We're in.
Everything is going fine. There is no problems whatsoever. There is no issues whatsoever.
Yeah, technology, man.
War of Rights brings you this brief interlude.
Eagle's just watching from the
Fucking-
sidelines.
Yeah, no,
Eagle's just so disappointed. You know. All right. You know, that was a great test run, guys. You guys did all well. You did amazing. You did amazing. All right, so
go home now.
it's okay. We're just gonna go 5 minutes over 9 p.m. I hope you all don't have tea to go to or something.
I already ate.
So
because
did
I'm a
I.
teacher.
Exactly. Anyway, sorry for that brief microphone mishap. Blame Canada. So this is the second EU podcast of the Battleline Network channel. We will be starting with well, actually, we'll go down the list again. We may as well, since they didn't hear me the first time. So, Dobbs,
Please.
Hello, I'm Sergeant Major Dobbs from A&V.
Cloud,
Yeah, I'm Major Cloud from the Raiders in Hood's division.
Victor,
Yep, Captain Victor from 4 New Jersey.
James, Wesley,
Hello, I am Captain James from the 88th New York.
and Lucian.
Yeah, Killer sucks.
Yeah, Dobbs, you really went at it that time. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Added the rank and
Thank you.
everything. Yeah, I'm so proud of you. Anyway, so yes, in today's podcast, we will be discussing the future of War of Rights and its direction.
Did you give Ray money?
No, what?
Did he ask for you for money?
Mhm.
No, what?
You be.
Right,
Yes.
so he hasn't been in.
See you there. And yeah, so we're going to be discussing the future of War of Rights and its direction. You know, where we want to see the game progress to, the player base, the community, and what we want to see added and changed. It's going to be it's going to be an interesting one. We're going to try and get it to stay towards an hour if we can't, because obviously it's broad, but it's not that broad. We'll see what we can stretch it out to. But starting off, so on a broad scale, if you had one thing that you wanted to be added into War of Rights, first off, what would that be if it is not horses?
Should we all just say it at the same time? we we all
He
know.
just had no horses.
Map editor.
Yeah.
Go through everyone basically.
Maps.
Maps or map
Yeah,
editor?
new
Yeah.
battlefields, new maps.
New theaters maybe even.
Yeah.
Hmm?
I'm gonna be the odd one out.
Yeah.
I want more arms positions, but I've already said that before.
I mean, that is actually
You what?
pretty
Oh,
Arms positions, like support arms and stuff. I
Yeah.
want, because I'm a purist.
Casey's.
I want
What-
to march
okay,
by
so
the
what-
flank with support
Can you like
arms.
go into detail on that? Like, what do you mean by that?
Oh, so there's like some. So we've got some of the arms in the arms manual. So right shoulder shift and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, okay.
I just want things like support arms and trail arms because they look cool and they go with the manual that we follow. So
Yeah.
if we want to march by the flank, I want to march with support arms. I don't want
Yeah,
to
that's
march with
understandable. Yeah.
right shoulder shift everywhere. I mean, I know there's constraints with buttons and things, but I think it would be cool. I mean, it's only another, 2 or 3 buttons to add in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I'm asking for them to redo everything else.
What
But, you know,
what kind of arms like you mean like the stances?
yeah. So
Yeah.
right shoulder
kinda,
shift
what
is
kind of stances do you think do you want to see added in?
so support arms and trail arms, at least they're the ones off the top of my head. So support is like holding the musket in your left arm in the crook with the hammer facing out and your hand across your breast. And then trail arms is holding it down low with you holding your hand on the middle band. So you could, it's basically so you don't not getting debris down the musket when you go on low hanging trees and things like that. It's just arms positions that they used during the Civil War. Maybe arms port as well if they want to be, want to be added in some other things.
That's
Yeah.
actually I didn't expect to even go
But
into
map
that.
editor is really good as well. But I'd like to see that before anything else major.
Hey, I mean,
you remind me so much of Culper.
yeah. But no, I mean, what? So you'd rather see like more gameplay? Like I don't know. What would you even describe it as? Like it's not really.
It's like
is it
more
mechanics
RP features,
or-
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
RP
like-
features other than like gameplay aspects in a
I
sense.
mean, my vision of the game, I mean, I've been in the game since its inception. But, my idea of the game has always been that it's a reenacting simulation.
Mhm.
Not everyone agrees with that sentiment, but I mean, for me at least, that's what I treat it as, and that's what I've always seen it as. So for me, any small details like that is fun and great. I mean, when they added, I mean, it was a long time ago now, but when they added some of the arms positions before, like right shoulder shift and bits and bobs, that was, and the different parade rest and all that sort of stuff, that was cool
There's
stuff.
not enough. There's not enough F keys though.
I mean, we can figure something out. I mean, there's plenty of buttons on a keyboard.
I mean, to be fair, the only real like reenactments there are is when UEC does the battalion events every month, like 3 months.
And historical reenactments.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
the historical reenactments,
When-
the scripted ones. We've never done one of those
Not
scripted ones.
really.
Stones River is on its way, gentlemen.
Not
I
really.
just-
I mean, UEC is
don't-
the only ones that I've seen it doing in a scale
I don't
that's
find those.
realistic.
I just don't find the scripted ones like that. They just don't appeal to me, in my opinion. I don't know why. I feel like
As-
that is
As a member, as
Yeah,
a guy who's been
it's-
in many of them too, I can say, I mean, they're fun to be in, but in the way with some unit sizes, they're not particularly realistic.
100%, and that was something that when, for example, the start of the reenactment events, when Knight started the whole thing, it is basically like it's not a 1-to-1 scale on the reenactment events. It was basically like just more, okay, let's just try to reenact as much as we can in the engine and games we're playing right now. But we want to not like go regimental level. We want to go a little bit higher, but just like try to reenact it basically.
I mean,
if possible.
you're never going to get the full scale of the
Exactly.
thing. I mean, we'd need servers of over 10,000 players and things like that, which you're never going to get.
hey, you
But,
never know
um,
these
yeah.
days.
That's
We
fair,
end up with like
yeah.
30,000 player servers.
I mean, if they
Yeah.
did that, it'd be grand. If we have all the men to fit that in, it would be even better.
Would
but
have one. Would have one server that all the members of the community pitched in to pay for.
But yeah, all props to UEC on that. They're the ones who have gotten it to at least as close of a feeling as
Yeah.
because
a
we
real
work
regular
very
battlefield.
hard. That's why we tend to I mean, with our bi-weekly, not bi-weekly, once a fortnight, sorry, battalion drills and our brigade drills that we do. I mean, there's one coming up on the 30th that we're doing. I mean, we spend a lot of time looking at very small details, but I mean, for us, it's fun. But we're sort of sidetracking from the true comment of this thing, which is the future
Yeah.
of War of Rose.
So
yeah.
when it comes to something that somebody else said about, so would you class new maps and a map editor as the same thing, or would you think new maps as in they brought out, say, Shiloh, and then a map editor is like something that obviously we create?
Yeah.
I don't
if-
even like the idea of a map editor, to be honest.
Well, they're definitely
if we
gonna have
just,
a
like,
map editor. I think it's
just,
gonna be.
Why don't you just elaborate, Victor?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So I would say immediately on one of the first like ideas, because it's something that is possible immediately without really needing. Well, you know, it might take some work for the developers, but they've already done this kind of thing before, and that is like just more skirmish servers, etc. But maybe focus entirely still on Eastern Theater. Western Theater can be like in the future, but like we have like battles like Gettysburg, Fredericksburg, all these kind of like you can put them into scenarios. I think I wouldn't say quite easily, but if they've done it before, they should be able to do it again. It all depends on the amount of time they want to put in, really.
That's the key issue, though, is the time factor. They spent
Yeah.
5 years creating the maps that we currently have.
Yeah.
And I think the map editor is a way for them to take some of the work back to the community. I mean, you have all these ideas for Fredericksburg, Gettysburg, all that sort of stuff.
I think.
And if
But
they
is it
want to produce that, that's going to take years and years worth of work. Whereas you can open it up to the community with a map editor and go, here you go. A lot of you are really good creative people, and there's a load of really good creative people in this community. You know, have free reign to go and do it yourself, basically. I mean, it just depends on the parameters of what these map editor is going to
That's
be.
what I was gonna ask. When we're bringing up the map editor, do you think it's gonna be you have like free reign on to create what you want, or are you just gonna be able to edit stuff from the maps that are already existing?
I hope it's free reign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
nice
all the
actually.
assets will be.
In all
free,
fairness-
as Dobbs is saying, all the assets would be free.
well, you've seen it.
It's already in
So
the game.
have you ever seen it when like the devs do that little trolley thing where they start planting loads of crap around the maps?
Yeah.
That's pretty
So you
much
think
what
it'll
we
be
would
like
get. Is
that?
we'd be able to
Okay.
put down like. Well, I was in drill camp once with a bunch of the devs and a load of other people, and they put like Burnside's bridge, like right outside the tents on the CSA drill camp, and then they made like a staircase to heaven kind
Well,
of
we
thing.
were
I would
that
hope
was,
it's not live.
Yeah.
though,
that was when we
'cause-
tested that 300-man server, I think,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
and
And
so
yeah, 'cause they popped that building up right next to Burnside's bridge and then built that tower. We still have
Yeah.
the video from the bridge thing. It was kind of funny.
yeah, like it's pretty much gonna be like that, where you can literally just like I feel like you can just kind of fly around and kind of you'll have like a sort of list of different things, and they've got a
Okay.
shit ton of stuff. Like I swear there's a big disco ball that they can put randomly.
Yeah,
in
they
it.
spawned it in the house.
Yeah, and it's just loads of random stuff. The thing that I think is good about the map editor is because obviously this is a historically accurate game in a sense, and I feel like there wouldn't be as many people that would go overboard with it and take the mick with a map editor. I feel like a lot of people would be really genuine about it because they kind of care, because obviously it's like history.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you said, James, there's a lot of like creative
Mhm.
people who would actually want to create some, because obviously we can't, like when we try and do historical reenactments and stuff, we have to like look for a map that is remotely somewhat similar.
Yeah.
Whereas now you can pretty much go to those maps that are remotely somewhat similar and edit them to make them even more like the real thing.
That's actually that's a good point. It'd actually help those reenactment events.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, the amount of time we spent when we were doing like the Fredericksburg one, looking for a suitable stone wall for the Confederates to stand
Yeah,
behind.
You're gonna have to open up a UEC map creative department.
I mean,
I think both-
plenty of people.
Well, both the editor and some officially released maps, I think, would go a long way in attracting new
Definitely.
players as well. People are always interested in new historical.
Shepherdstown is always on the Whispering Winds,
See-
isn't it?
See, I'm just
Yeah,
taking.
some
I've heard
that-
that for a
Do you
while
know-
now.
Do you know Farmland, that big contention map? I can
Yep.
see that being a replica of Waterloo.
Killer just wants Waterloo. He just wants
Give me some
Napoleon.
Prussian cavalry and a bunch of canister. loaded with
Napoleonic War
cannons,
mods.
and that's,
Oh god.
The French march through the field at La Haye-Saint.
they think French
Oh,
bashing's bad
Lord.
now. Just you wait.
Oh god, please
Nah,
don't.
nah.
honestly.
I
can
mean-
just
You're gonna
imagine.
surround the old guard just going.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can just imagine the entire like European community being divided becomes like Napoleonic if they want to play like
Exactly.
Napoleonic
Divided
at
into
the Civil War.
races.
Factions.
Since we're on the topic of like mechanics and like or what we'd want to see, what is everybody's opinion on a more complex melee system?
Yeah,
No, I was thinking the
I
same
would
thing.
say
yeah.
that would be a good idea.
What would you think that entails, Cloud? I've got a few ideas.
I mean, I had seen somebody talking about it. It was kind of reiterated back to James in that the manual he was talking about of them like they actually teaching like a parry and like a something else like
McClellan's
that.
bayonet drill.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
feel
there
like
you go.
I feel like it wouldn't be that hard. It'd be a bit like, you know, like Mountain Blade Napoleonic Wars, how like
Yeah.
you can
Mm.
kind of have an actual, like you can kind of block and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
could you imagine if like you've got your normal stab, but then if you hold a key, it goes into like a block, and then if you try and attack while you're in block, it kind of hits with the butt of the rifle, something just really weird. I feel like that would be
It's-
like so fun to see.
I'd say that's probably one of the only options you could go down if we're talking about comparative melee systems.
I just wouldn't want to
because-
see it into like real fast pace, like the
Yeah,
stand
that's
weight.
the other issue. I mean, going back to again the core of War of Riots is this historical simulation, isn't it? And the problem with melee is it's very difficult because there's not a lot of melee engagements in the Civil War, so
No, it is
it's not often something that's sort of paid much attention to. So I sort of see the system that we currently have as is the system, but I think if we're going to improve it, then that system, a little bit like Mountain Blade, is probably the best way to go. I mean, it was a scene of enjoyment and hilarity back a long time ago when you saw people
definitely.
smacking each other with
Oh
the.
god.
How do
yeah.
you guys
I would have
feel?
to strongly disagree with that statement that there weren't a lot of melees in the Civil War. There definitely was.
How do you guys feel about
Extreme
less than 1%.
like how do you guys feel about a
Including-
historical mode? Do you remember?
I would love that.
So I
kind of-
mean, that's literally what. So I mean, because Contention and Conquest is kind of like a watered down version of what the grand like historical mode that they always talked about was. Obviously, you all know Gareth in ANV. He was back like fucking base game, the old bastard, and you know he was there when they started developing it, and they were talking about this big historical mode that would
Drill
like
camp paintball.
be pretty much yeah, it'd be like all the maps kind of together like how they are in Contention Conquest.
Yeah.
yeah.
But could you imagine like it isn't like the skirmish mechanics?
Mhm.
Like 1 point, one team's defending, one team's attacking on a massive map like that. I think that would be absolutely amazing.
My issue with that currently is
In
there's just
numbers.
not enough people on the servers for that to be a
Yeah, that is
viable.
the thing.
Or
Viable
they'll
thing.
need to rethink the spawn, like, and not just have flags, because that'd be just so much distance to cover for guys.
I mean,
to-
all of us have played
Two from
Conquest and
spawn.
Contention, and the biggest complaint of it is it's a running simulator
Yeah,
already.
exactly.
Oh yes.
I mean, it definitely sounds fun in theory, but I think they would have to rethink
Yeah, it would have
spawn.
to.
Yeah, I just don't. The only thing that I dislike about Contention and Conquest is the way that it really forces your hand. Like in Conquest, it's different in Contention. Contention, that's why I like Contention, is because you aren't forced to attack the opponent immediately because you're not actively burning tickets. Whereas in
Yeah.
Conquest, like the minute they capture it, you're literally now burning tickets without even doing anything. You could not be dying and you're still losing tickets, and it's a big burn as well. If you just watch the morale state at the top, you just see it start ticking down, like it's like it's butter on a hot knife, man. It's like it's nothing.
It draws
And
away
also
often from
less
your
fun.
like, it
Yeah.
draws away a little bit of your concentration as well because you're
Yeah.
just trying to figure out how to combat other units, and then at the same time, oh, is that flag over there? Is that flag
Yeah,
over there?
but
Well,
I
it
like
also
about-
it
sorry, go on, Clem.
shoehorns you into just like fast-paced melee, and
Yeah.
that's not at least half of the community doesn't enjoy that kind of gameplay. So
Yeah, but like Contention, I like how it draws you to different areas of the map instead of it being condensed to that one flag the whole game.
Yeah.
Whereas like on some maps, like depending on RNG obviously where the flags spawn, you could be playing on one side of the map and then all of a sudden you're playing on the other side of the map and then you're in the middle. And that's like the fun part, is that you're constantly changing location, whereas in Conquest it's just like Conquest is, I'm more bored of Conquest now than I am a Skirmish. I mean, I've had Skirmish for 3 years.
Yeah.
And like, cause I don't know why, but Skirmish, in my opinion, like, it's something that you can always change in a sense.
Back to-
Obviously, there are
yeah,
base
change.
strategies, but you can always change what you do and try new stuff. Whereas in Conquest, it's kind of just like, you can try
Run to the
maybe,
middle.
yeah, you can. The only thing you can really do is, oh, I'm gonna go to the middle point, but I'm just gonna go left this time instead of right. It doesn't really change it. You still have to charge across an open field and get shot to bits while you try and lower a flag.
I feel like they were moving in the right direction with contention, but I just
Yeah.
feel like there's still something missing. I'm not sure.
What if I
Yeah.
think contention could be fixed if they made it where it was guaranteed the point started in the middle, and then whichever team captured it first, and like maybe dropped the morale stage, it would go closer to the
Closer to
defenders.
them, like
Yeah.
push back and forth. I mean, that
Yeah,
would
kind of like a
basically
tug of war type
Yeah,
situation.
and that would be quite realistic in that regard. That would actually be pretty
That's-
interesting. To be
Yeah, it's a
honest.
little bit like the Battlefield system, isn't it?
Yeah, the
You'd
old
go
what was it, like
backwards.
Rush or whatever?
Yeah, whatever it was, and you'd go backwards and forwards depending on who was able to defend or attack
Mhm.
quicker.
Like, imagine
I
like a
think
game
that
mode,
would
like, so there's like 5 flags or something. You get one directly in the middle, and then each team has 2 of their own, and we know which flag. Like, so if we captured the flag and we held it, it would push them back to one of their 2 flags, and whichever, like, on your side, you know which flag it's gonna be, but the other team doesn't. So at least you have like a couple of minutes to prepare, like, to defend the flag or counterattack, whatever.
Mhm.
And it kind of just being like a tug of war. And then if like you capture all of them, you win. Or if once the timer runs out, whoever has like the majority of the flags wins, kind of
So,
thing.
in that regard, it would actually remind us a little bit about, like Verdun in that regard, like a
Oh,
little bit,
yeah.
you're going back and forth, etc. And there would be, of course, quite a lot of battles that could maybe end in a stalemate, etc. Or at least, maybe not stalemate directly, but basically the one that has secured the most, as
But
you
like
said,
hell at
etc.
loose.
What's
Yeah,
gonna-
hell at loose in that regard, yeah.
Maybe whatever supply system. I don't know if that's too
What did-
too much to
Oh,
ask.
that would
Do
be...
you know
Supply.
like,
Oh
do you
no,
know like,
please.
Do you know like a hell
Well,
at loose?
actually,
Oh,
Like-
horrible.
add horses,
Cavalry, yeah,
something
The
Like,
like
ordnance
supply
department
system,
is
yeah.
on the field.
Yeah, you can run out of
Yeah.
ammunition if you're not managing your logistics.
I don't know why I can't remember the game
Wagon
mode. But
trains.
what's the game mode in Hell at Loose where like one team's defending and one team's attacking? Why can't I think of the name?
Warfare.
No, Warfare's the back and forth one. Warfare's like
Hell.
the...
I don't even remember.
Yeah, what the hell is it called? Someone in chat help me, please. But anyway, could you imagine a game mode like that where like you have say 3 or 4 points and you're defending all of them, but it's one at a time and it kind of goes back, and you kind of have to hold them for 45 minutes, and you have to
I think
stop them capturing all the
closest
flags.
We got to that in the community was when
We did the
when Conquest came out, and we just we would agree not to cap the middle point because each team technically had a base per se with the point that was
Yeah.
close to them.
And like, say
Right.
the attacking team captures the flag, the black timer pauses, and they have like 5 minutes to hold it to like secure it
Yeah.
properly, and so it gives you time to counterattack or just fall back and defend the next point. I feel like that would be something quite interesting. I
Yeah,
feel like
'cause some of those
there is so much
contention
stuff that they
maps-
could do like easy, you know what I mean? Like I don't
Yeah.
think it would be that hard for them to do. It'd just be a bit of like obviously would be
Scripting,
hard, but
it's more of that. They have
You're
already
gonna work
existing
on
maps.
horses this
Well,
whole time.
no, I know. Well, that's also the case. Like they talk about that all the time. But I would say, like this kind of idea, like this is more. They can just take whatever map they find, like for example, contention map, etc., and then you just line it up basically, which is closest, which is longest, etc. And it should be quite easy, I wouldn't say, because I'm not good at like
Well, look
script or anything like that.
That
but it
wheat
should be
fields.
quite possible.
yeah, Wheatfields is a good one.
That the way
Yeah.
those
We get
the
it
way
in the
those
Antietam
flagpoles
update.
are designed on contention for that one is like really. I mean, they're straight across the middle for the most part, besides the
Yeah.
2 that are next to the artillery.
Yeah, it's like three or 4 along the middle, and then one either side,
Mm.
which is pretty cool. It's weird because I feel like we've got all these like ideas of like things that could be done, but like obviously they are working on Cav, but everyone gets their knickers in a twist over Cav, but Cav is going to be exactly the same as artillery. Everyone was so
But it's
excited for it. It
complete
came out.
buggy.
Everyone wanted to play it. it was buggy. They complained it was buggy, even though they've been crying for it to get pushed out for like
I
the
don't
last
think it's
year.
gonna be actual calf though, Killer. It won't
Well,
be actual calf.
Not straight away, no.
It'll be officers.
I also-
Like,
Officers
I
and
also-
artillery.
As far as I
Exactly.
understand, it's going to be restricted in its amount.
Yeah, to certain
Very
maps. as well.
similar. And yeah, it's going to be very limited in its usage on certain maps. So
But the
Which
thing,
is why it doesn't make sense that they're focusing so much on it.
But the thing that I have against it, right, is everyone's praying for bigger servers so we can squash everybody in and do a big battle. But at the same time, the devs, like, there's only going to be a set amount of carve that you can have, and what's the point? Like, we're not going to share the carve out between units because there's no point in having groups of 3 and 4 cavalry guys riding
Yeah.
around, jumping off and shooting.
So
it's not gonna-
more of, messengers would be a good idea. Like, for example, if we have individual messengers when it comes to horses, especially on, like, when you can communicate through Steam chat.
I could understand that. Yeah.
And then, of course, for example, I know a lot of officers would be like, I want to lead from the horse, where we basically
Oh yeah, I
be
will lead from the horse.
historically accurate. like,
I
Colonel.
my honest
I mean,
opinion, leading
it's
from a
gonna
horse is gonna make you a target.
Oh
I
yeah,
well,
already
that's-
am a
you're,
target.
you've hit exactly what I was just going to say. Because cavalry, if you're going to be offensive, you're going to die real quick because you're on a massive horse coming towards
Yeah.
a group of people,
I
and
do
all you
that
need is some
anyway.
good shots,
I'd
and
be
they'll
like,
just take you all out.
I'd be like riding straight ahead. I'm like, alright, follow me. We're gonna charge these guys out. And then Gareth
At
will
the
probably
same
be in the
time,
Discord being like,
follow-
killer, we're like 100 yards behind you. Killer, your chart, killer.
But at the same time, I mean, if we're going back to say like role-playing aspects, I'd like to have the horses.
It would
Useful.
work. Yeah.
it would be
Yeah.
really good. Like, for example, for reenactment events, that would be fucking
Yep.
amazing. Like,
Generals on
Yeah.
horses,
I mean, even Victor's HRE, then it would be
Yeah.
useful. In
Italian
that,
commanders on horseback.
I feel like
commanding
it
them
would
in.
be for HRE it'd be really cool because like in pre-game strat we can like set a place where we can like meet up and stuff. You know what I mean? And everyone
Yeah,
will kind
all
of ride their
horse.
horse over there,
like.
talk about
Basically,
it.
that big first thing
It'll be
from,
like an
like,
actual
hold
HQ
on.
command meeting.
Like Nicodemus Hill is the CSA. Everyone
Yeah.
rides to the top of the hill, and we have a
Yeah.
quick officer meeting mid-game
That-
while everyone's fighting.
Yeah, exactly. I was like thinking, like, that reminds me of like the first scene. I think it was from like Waterloo, when all the British officers are all gathering basically close to Wellington, and they're like, okay, you go there, you go there, you go there, you go there. Basically, all spreads around and basically going to for the attack,
But-
etc.
Well,
From a
it's-
gameplay,
yeah.
yeah. No, go
I
for it.
was gonna say it's a little bit like the the scene in Gettysburg where Lee's sitting there and all the riders are coming up to him
Oh,
and
yeah.
reporting to him. That's what it would be like.
Yep.
We're sending like a poor private. So I've got a message from.
I got a message from this company.
I have a message from Captain Wesley. He says they're getting fucked.
He says we must leave the position. We have no more to hold.
This is Victor being like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, Wesley."
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Why didn't you follow the plan, goddamn? No.
The boys have put up a hell of a fight, but we've had to pull back.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we've talked a bit about gameplay, which we'll probably get back to. What do you guys think the community will look like in, say, I don't know, because I mean, we've all been in the game for a little while now, right? And
Yeah.
we've always talked about how back in like, say, 2020, big cores were a big thing. You know, you had lots of guys in big cores,
2014.
second core, 9th core, first core. All those TNA was big back then. All those big cores were a thing, and then it kind of split off into just back to individual regiments, and then it kind of turned into like being not affiliated cores, but more like coordinated groups. Like
Yep.
how you got like Sussy, NYV, Hand V, HDNV, and OPA as well. How we just kind of we like to
Yeah.
play together, so we just have this like unaffiliated group, so we can still group up together. Where do we think the community is going to go to in say the next year, 2 years?
I mean-
Hopefully not more division. Hopefully
Yeah.
keeping the current structures. I mean, I haven't seen like a couple of years back. There was a big, a period of time when a load of small groups just like kept popping up all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't see, although I may not see it, I don't see huge amounts of small groups suddenly popping up all the time now. A lot of well-established groups exist. and
I-
people are either joining them or from within groups are forming new or
Yeah, see, it's
take for
weird.
example,
I would say
The-
it's
Yeah.
happened quite a lot of times. They've rebranded. You've
Yeah.
had two regiments that have been really, really buddies, and then they're like, you know what? Why not let just like combine basically, but not like combine directly, but it's more like let's work together. We'll always
Like
play together.
NYV.
So it's like, yeah, like
Yes.
NYV or
Yeah.
something like that. And like that's, to be honest, I think that's really healthy. It's many of the times when it comes to like corps, brigades, and why they've all like shifted is because there's been, oh, but you follow my orders. Okay, but who is the central command, etc. And then becomes the divided, and it's like, oh, I don't want to, play with you guys anymore, and all those kind of things, and it gets split up and smaller, basically.
Yeah,
Well, that's why you gotta know
I
who
feel
you're
like
playing with.
regiments, you'll see a lot more regiments that have been around a long time rather than corps, because I feel like corps rebrand and kind of restructure a lot more than regiments do. Like, it's the same from when we split off from 2nd Corps, 13th Georgia, we became 24th Georgia, and then we became Irish Legion, and then we had 10th Alabama and 1st SC, and then we became the ANV, and it's just kind of like we've kind of went through our little journey of corps name changes, but I mean we're pretty set now, because I mean I can't be bothered to do this again. So once this dies,
I mean, yeah, we HD came from my corps. So.
yeah. But that's the thing, is I feel like a lot of regiments now, like corps regiments, have all came from back in like 2020 when you had those like 5 or 6 big corps groups, and a lot of the regiments now have all came from those big corps groups, whereas a lot of the newer ones, the majority of them don't survive, but there are like ones like Lucian, he just appeared out of nowhere one day, like
Well,
like
that was almost 2 years ago.
Well, you reformed
Yeah.
Iron Brigade, right?
yeah, he did, yeah, because he merged with 6
2
Wisconsin.
years.
Nice.
Yeah, and like nowadays, a lot of smaller regiments that they try. Some of them accept the fact that I feel like the ones that stay small stay alive longer, but the ones that try and grow too fast, you'll notice that like small regiments will kind of pop out the wind, and then they'll like grow, and like one day they're 10, the next day they're like 25, and then all of a sudden they end up splitting off because they've just kind of recruited a bunch of people that they don't even know, gave them ranks and stuff, and then then it just implodes once they have a
then the
disagreement.
power complex sets
And
in.
people
They
just
want to
get
create their
bored
own
too.
thing.
Yeah,
And
you
then-
definitely want to start small and like build a, like a little community first. If where
I mean-
everybody's like good friends before you start trying to.
I mean, that's what, like,
become.
It's what Torgray
mean-
said in HRE debrief yesterday. How like he has a very strict policy on who he lets in, which is why they're still small after 3 years, because they
I
go.
don't think you
you go
should
for
use them as
character.
an example, Killer.
No. I mean like he said something in HRE debrief yesterday. What was it, Victor? It was like
He basically
was-
said like, oh, like I always check the guys who I like invite, etc. They can be, if you're just interested in Civil War, you join those guys. You can like be either if you want to play like Union or CSA. It's all about like, basically they're trying to form up a community instead of a clear like rank system basically, and all those kind of ways. What I've understood at least.
so he kind of like stays small by just recruiting people who are chill dudes that aren't gonna give him a headache, pretty much.
Yeah,
Which
I
is
mean we've never
understandable.
we've never been a huge group. I mean the 88th, we've never been massive, but that's because differently, we I wouldn't say pride ourselves, but we are very much in a focused mindset of we are a group of people that want to try and do it as accurately as possible.
Milsim also.
Yeah, not so. I mean, I would call us semi milsim.
I mean, we're like, for example, we're Milsim.
I mean,
we have a
Wednesday Picket Patrol proves that we're not 100% milsim
Yeah.
all the time. The 88th Banzai charges are fun to do, so we're already a niche within a niche community anyway when we want to sort of specifically do things, but I mean, I spent a long time sort of creating people that enjoy playing that playstyle, so I can see how, that's a good way to go. And I mean, we've been around a long time, so it's clearly worked out in our favour.
So it's interesting on the EU side, which the NA side I feel like doesn't have this problem because they're all obviously North American. They all speak pretty much English, whereas on the EU side is crap ton of different languages and stuff. do you see the EU side? Well, I believe there is a chance that in the future, the NA side may combine more and do larger events with the bigger maps and
Yeah.
stuff. Do you see the EU side being able to do that without one side completely giving up the play style that they like to play
Not
now?
entirely.
Combining?
What
Yeah.
do you mean with combining?
Like
Is
Yeah.
that-
say,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
like say Friday EU event coordination and UEC, Saturday Grand Campaign UEC,
Oh yeah, yeah, I know what you
HRE
mean.
and
Like,
Oh,
one of
Generals of
those-
War,
Mm.
like events
I-
kind of coming to like all of the players
I
coming
would
together
say-
to do the big like
Yeah.
400
in
server
that
battles
kind
and
of
stuff.
thing, that is really just like it would be very specific situations. There's reasons why like some events are different, why people go to UEC,
Yeah.
why people go to the public thing instead of going to the UEC. Like
Yeah.
you know, there are different alternatives. Now, in the future, what I've understood, I feel like it's always becoming like devs are pushing for more of a combined thing. It's better, especially in the future with like generals or something like that. They're pushing for more combined, etc. But I will say that one of the most important parts of, especially I know from the European community, is the different events and different regiments, how they have their own niche, how they have their own special ways. And like for example, we can't forget, like when we're saying the EU community, it's not only the ones that are like mostly speaking English. There's still like, I know there's a Chinese community, I know there's a Russian community, I know there's a like, and they have their own, I wouldn't say events that are, but they have their own regiments that are. And like I would say that one of the biggest problems would be for the EU is that I think people will try to combine, but I don't think it will work that
Yeah,
good.
I feel like HRE is kind of like as good as it's getting, you know?
Mm.
Like you have that base rule set of historical rules, but at the same time, like regiments that aren't necessarily as slower pace, so like ANV and Hoods, like when we first came in, which we obviously discussed at the last podcast. Like I feel like we've kind of been able to mix and match how we usually play to how we want to kind of play to make HRE what HRE wants to be. Because obviously, you know, it's your guys' event, so we don't want to come in there and just start running around, slashing and going crazy the whole time. Like we want to, it's our chance to kind of switch up how we play. So I feel like that could be the only way it would work is if we had set days, and like say, like a Friday would be like big UEC day. Everyone does like a UEC style event. Saturday would be like a more
relaxed
day, where both
campaign.
sides can play together. Maybe even continue Grand Campaign. I don't know. And then Sunday would be like HRE, which is kind of like a mix and match of both, because you can kind of play both equally. I feel like that would be the only way it would kind of work, is like set days, so people.
I just don't think it could ever happen. People just want to play the events they like to play.
Same as what I was about to say. I just don't see the current set communities, inverted commas, agreeing to that idea.
Yeah.
I just don't see them. There is, as Lucian just said, there are people who have specific set ways of what they want to do, and it'll be very difficult to convince them to do anything else. And that's not because they hate all the other people on the other side of the thing. They just prefer it that way. That's the way they prefer it. And I mean, I'm going to openly say that I prefer the way that we do it with UEC and stuff like that. But I will not say that other people are doing it wrong. I just think that they have their way of wanting to play the game, and we have our way of wanting to play the game, and that's perfectly fine. I just don't see them mixing. And you are right, Killer. HRE is our closest thing to mixing the two together.
Yeah, it's I enjoy HRE. I look forward to Sundays.
Yeah, that's once we found out about it in HD, we were like, yeah, that's a really cool change of pace, and
yeah,
I know it's been like one of our more popular EU events.
It's kind of like it's weird. See, in the NA community, the only thing that really divides them is their hatred for one another.
I was going to say that regimental dramas, and I've also understood. Go ahead. Sorry.
EU's mainly just like the biggest difference is the playstyle difference, not necessarily the opinion difference. Obviously, there's always going to be riffs and rafts. You know what I mean? You know, we're a big gaming community. It's it's never going to be perfect when you get people from all backgrounds trying to work together. But I feel like the EU side definitely has it a lot better in terms of like we do have the little tit for tats, but we always kind of work them out in the end and kind of sort it out. Whereas in the NA community, a lot of the time it's like big arguments, and all of a
Blood
sudden there's
feuds.
all of a sudden
Well,
there's
Yeah,
now
I
a new
look at the
event.
event.
I
I look
mean,
in the event coordination Discord. It's just some guy insulting another guy about another game.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think like
Yeah.
Lucian, you bloody Dog and Flores would go at it like pretty much every single week.
Yeah,
but then
me
you
and
would
Doug
still,
just troll each
but
other.
then you
To
would
be
still
honest
play.
with you.
Then you would still play with each other when the event came around, and I feel like that's kind of how it works with a lot of the EU communities. It's like you just when it comes down to the event, you know, you're there to put on a show. You're not there to.
Well, there has been, however, but everything, like one of the things that I will say that the EU community has been pretty good at hiding, or at least not trying to show, at least when it comes to, I think, both UEC and HRE, is when those kind of issues actually do happen, they usually happen behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I remember when the Russian-Ukrainian war happened, when it started, there was a big feud between a Polish part of a regiment and a Russian regiment that were going back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth, insulting each other to the death, basically. And there was so many times where we tried to solve it, etc. But everything was happening behind closed doors, basically. Everything was not like we're not seeing people being spattered in chat. It was only in-game chat, and they were told to like not calm it down, like all those kind of things, and then talk to afterwards. That's one of the things I don't know, because as I said, I don't have that much experience on the NA side, but from what I've heard, it's been more, open, and it has its goods and bads. But I can say on the EU side, quite a lot of times, what I've had to deal with at least, it's been more, as I said, behind closed doors and not like let out into the public, basically.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just
for
think-
sure, agree
Oh,
with
go on,
that.
Lucian.
I said I agree with that. Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would like to see the events kind of combine in a way where we can get a better experience out of it, you know, especially when they add bigger servers. But obviously, yeah, it would come with its complications, I might say.
Yeah, people would just have to agree on like what kind of rule set they were playing on.
Yeah, yeah,
I just think it'll have to be Sundays. It'll have to be HRE because that seems
Yeah.
to be the closest thing that everyone can agree to playing without
Mhm.
without there being
So,
division.
Why is there not as many like? So does like most of the UEC regiments just not play Sundays? Is that why?
Yeah, they have their meetings
It's-
Oh,
usually.
yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah,
usually
yeah,
when
yeah,
I-
yeah.
Their
Yeah.
meetings.
Well,
Yeah, they
usually
do. Yeah, they're
we
meetings,
do.
yeah.
Yeah, every Sunday.
Oh yeah, I remember James
sorry,
would
every
come
other
in
Sunday.
coordination and be like, "Yeah, I've got UEC meetings, so I gotta go."
Yeah, so that I usually don't lead. Well, for the past several months now, I haven't led Sundays because we have our UEC meetings every other week on a Sunday. But yeah, it's that, and also a lot of people or a lot of main people in UEC work. So for them,
Yeah.
they don't really want to go to bed late on a Sunday
Yeah.
and then get up early in the morning
Yeah.
to go to work. So it tends to be that is the other reason as well. But yeah, I mean, some do. I mean, regiments that play with you. Yeah.
Is part of HRE, and they like play every single week. We have had 20th New York pass by sometimes.
I mean,
and
Third
for-
Alabama as well, and all that
Yeah,
sort of stuff.
Alabama, and that's been more of like Russian time zones, etc. What I've understood at
Yep.
least, and combined with meetings, etc. It's basically like there's no like, oh, we don't want to go to your event, etc. It's not that. It's more of basically they play Friday and Saturday, most of the UEC regiments, and they're like, oh, that's enough for us, basically. And
Yeah.
then Sunday, it is still a Sunday. It is like tomorrow you gotta work or go to school or something like that. So like, yeah, I can imagine that it is a day for some people that
Yeah.
it's gonna be pretty complicated.
Now I have one little question on it. You're all familiar with Picket Patrol, correct?
Indeed.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is your opinions on the devs adding the Picket Patrol game mode to skirmish maps?
You mean like
Instead of
battle
it-
and like Napoleonic Wars?
But yeah, but
you mean like
but
you
instead
know
of it
what I
being
mean.
like in the drill camp, there's also like you know how you can play like skirmish, conquest, contention, and
Mhm.
all the
Yeah.
different maps. How would you
Yeah.
feel about doing like that, like Picket Patrol, on like skirmish maps? How?
I would say immediately what I'm thinking of
It'd be
is
great for cinematics.
line
That would be
battles.
amazing.
I mean,
Yes.
line battle, classic way that they did in Napoleonic Wars and the Civil War for the Napoleonic Wars, where it was basically the battle. They would basically have two big battalions basically fighting at each other with only one life, and there'll be several rounds, etc. That would be pretty interesting.
I think I would.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree
Yeah,
with Victor on
that's
that.
cool.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
So I'd be 100%
May the
you do,
best
like,
man win.
do like multiple rounds on different maps.
Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think the downside that some, especially NA guys, have with the Picket Patrol is it turns into like a hide and seek kind of thing. Like people don't
It
want to
happens in
fight.
the EU one too, which is why we haven't
But
done
if
it for
it-
a little while.
Like if Victor's saying, if it was more of like, hey, you're not little groups, you're one big, group fighting in this single skirmish kind of
Now
thing.
you don't have to combine directly. You can still do like battalions or mini battalions as we've done before. It's more of like it's basically just to simulate a bit more, well, historically accurate in that regard. Only one life. The
Yeah, I like
officer
that.
who's leading all the way from West Point, all his life riding at the front, and then just completely.
We're gonna have Killer on his horse and immediately
Yeah,
get shot. That'll
yeah.
be fun.
Fire friendly.
Yeah,
Yeah, bio-friendly. Yep.
Like that scene in Gods
I
and
think
Generals.
that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's the best thing.
Have the devs mentioned that at all? Killer,
No,
or
but I
is this
just think
an idea?
I'm just thinking about like, cause this, like, a lot of people can talk trash about War of Rights, but what the small dev team have actually done, like we can all say the maps look absolutely amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Sure. Yeah.
I have never wavered in my confidence for them. I mean, they have a small team, and everything they have produced so far has, for me as a historian in my job, and as someone who's a reenactor and loves this sort of period of history, they've done a really good job to do what they've done so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's still more to be done.
yeah, I mean, if you look like, do you remember the Baka video on Burnside's Bridge? If you,
Oh, yeah.
if
Oh,
you-
yeah, yeah,
If
one
you've
of-
never,
yeah, yeah,
if you've never
maybe.
watched that, go to the War of Rights like company tool and go to the Baka page, and and you can see the video that they first
One
posted
Life.
about it, and
Oh yes.
that looked horrible to watch.
Yeah, and to be honest, the thing is that actually
That's
is
how I had to
something
play
that
it,
would-
Killer.
Yeah, to be
Yeah.
honest, that would actually be really, really good in my opinion with that kind of idea, because then it would actually really get you into the kind of only one life. This is actual civil war.
Yeah, I
warfare,
can't
like,
sit here and joke around. Like I gotta really
Yeah,
focus.
like
pay
holy
attention.
shit, etc. And then you like almost get into the same mentality. Well, not the same mentality, but the closest you can get at least, or except for
I am reading the
actual
chat, yes, by the
reenactment,
way. Yeah.
reenactment in real life, etc. To what it feels
If any
like
of
to
you
be
people in chat
Civil
do
War
have a
soldier in
question,
this game, at least.
feel free
It
to
would
ask.
make people a lot more cautious as officers. There
Yeah.
won't be
Or if you
any
have an idea
mass
that you
mass
want to talk
attacks.
about, let us know.
Well,
The thing would be, I mean, it would be feasible to do because all you'd have to do is just add the skirmish maps to the game mode, and then everybody else could, play. You don't have to have the rules in place. You could just, honor system basically kind of thing.
Mm.
So it's not
Right,
like a massive change they couldn't do. It's just adding that game mode to that map selection, I guess.
yeah, it's a cool idea. I mean,
Yeah, I just think I
I'd
feel
be
like the
for it.
devs could do a lot with what they've made now and like switch it up to
some
make it.
fresh things.
'Cause I feel like literally all we need is just fresh thing, like little changes. It's the same with like when we do events that have special rules, right? It's exactly the same map that we play on all the time, but that special rule set just kind of changes the whole like outlook on that map and that event, and it just makes it feel like it's a different map or a different
Fresh
event.
or like
That was
Killer,
that whole
Killer
idea.
just wants a special rule that he can't be shot on his horse. That's what he wants.
I
Well, that
love
was that
rules.
whole idea
I love
behind
rules,
the
James.
whenever
I know you do.
Conquest-
That gets used in our server so much. That
Mhm.
little sound clip, Killer.
Mm,
But that was that whole idea whenever Conquest came out that, use the honor system, just don't cap the middle point, and it becomes
Yeah.
more of like a free flowing battle. But you have like, objectives like, hey, we do need to go try to take their point, but also defend ours, kind of thing.
yeah, I do kind of like that. I feel like if we were gonna do something like that, it would need to be like a kill, like obviously like a kills based thing. So like the winner is the one that has the most kills at the end.
I mean,
I
that's
feel
what
like-
that's been done in the past.
Yeah,
though.
but I feel like
don't
we
you
would-
remember we clarify that?
Yeah, you would have to do like one contention or conquest and
think
one
HDC
skirmish, because I feel like if you can't do 2 of those because they last 45 minutes each,
Yeah, they're long as shit.
and that would last that would take forever. So I feel
The
like
winner is whoever can kill Killer as many times on his horse.
I don't
that's-
I don't
pretty
I
sure
don't
it
spawn
wins,
in
yeah.
anymore.
Well, you feel a lot like you feel a lot.
Yeah, because I think HDC has adopted that into their, their NA campaign that they do, the House Divided.
Yeah, I feel like that
'Cause
would be a
I-
good game mode to do it on.
They do, because I remember when we were still in that campaign, there was an event where we did the first round was like that, with the conquest type thing, and then the second round was skirmish.
Yeah.
It's a bit like, so in Grand Campaign we have a card called Bloodlust, that if like, so pretty much all it is it's the normal map, but the point is active, but the end result is based on the casualties.
Oh, I do. Yeah, we did that a few weeks back. I remember that.
It's
Yeah,
horrible.
I like it because
Jesus,
it's like
bro.
the attackers, if they want to, the attackers can prolong the game by capping the point, and or end the game quickly by capping it at breaking if they feel like they're ahead and they don't want to make a mistake, which is why the
Yeah, that's
points still
stinky.
active.
That sucks. It's stinky.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't
with-
like how you
agree with
just I don't
Buzz,
like
it
how you
sucks.
just wandered in here, Bus. All right, hold on, we need to introduce Bus.
It is horrible.
Bus has joined the podcast, everybody.
Hans.org.
Yeah.
But yeah. Does anyone have any final sort of? Actually, what we'll do is, because we're coming up on the hour mark anyway. I don't believe there's only really some things in the chat I have been reading through, so don't worry. I haven't been ignoring you. I've just been saving them towards the end. But so Engel Cloud, your brethren, he said, what me and a lot of the community members want is more transparency from the devs, once a month state of development stuff, because he feels like
Been asking
they're
for that
always
for
left
4
in the dark.
years.
What do you guys feel like the devs should be more transparent for the future?
100%.
Yeah, but they
The
have
roadmap
one.
for sure. Yeah, their roadmap they need to be more transparent.
Make a new roadmap.
Yes, I'll say yes, but at the same time, I'm still going to hark on about the lack of people available to
Fair.
do
You
all
also
this
gotta
work.
understand the fact sometimes they don't even understand themselves what they want to use. I'm sure at least half of the cavalry, when they've been making it, or horses more specifically, they were like, okay, what do we actually want to use this for?
Yeah, but at
Yeah,
least
the devs.
they,
The devs are.
developing to know that they're just not sitting there, etc. It would be good to see, like once a month, this is what we've been doing, this is what we've been, it's
Yeah.
basically giving trust to the community, because I think a lot of the guys right now are just like, they continue playing the game, but it's become a bit of a running joke when it comes to the developers, like, okay, what are they actually doing?
Yeah,
It's like
because
There's a
there's
new
following-
new flag.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, and then when you see like these small updates, you're
You'll
like,
see in 6 days, Victor.
yay.
Yeah, I feel like
You'll
if you
see
had-
in 6 days, though.
I feel like if you had like if you had like mini monthly updates, then you wouldn't see as many people get annoyed by the little tiny ones, because they know that there's something big is coming, because they're just finishing up.
There's typically there's about 3 big updates a year and
Yeah.
one really big one.
well, it was
So
like
we've gotten 2 already this year.
look at how
it's
disappointed
obviously gonna
everybody
come in
was
6
with
days,
this
boss.
with the summer update.
On the 17th.
Yeah, the summer update.
Everyone was expecting something big, and it was facial hair.
Yeah, that
Exactly.
was really
That's
stupid.
big. How dare you? That is
I
big.
think
The
they're
weird thing was,
saving
right,
it for Antietam.
when they
though.
brought out
Antietam
Conquest and
anniversary.
Contention, they didn't mention a single thing about it, and then all of a sudden
Yeah,
they
they
just
just dropped
brought it
it,
out.
yeah.
They just dropped it
That
in
was a
front of
big
everyone,
drop.
and
That
nobody.
was awesome.
Yeah, and like and the same when they brought out Conquest, everyone was like, "Oh crap, yeah!" And then all of a sudden, like 6 months later, not even, they bring out another game mode without even mentioning it. It's just like, it baffles me sometimes how the devs work. But honestly, like the devs, sometimes you just have to think, this is their it's their baby. They're gonna do whatever the hell they want. So people just kind of have to respect that and either play the game or don't play the game and shut up.
I don't
Well, they
know
did a
if
good
that
job,
should
too.
be. I don't know if that's really the right way of thinking it. Like, this is our baby; they can do whatever the hell they want. Because I can tell you, there's been several times where like the community has been extremely tired of it, and that it's almost been like, okay, how about we just take the entire community and we just go play
Well,
Battlecry
it's-
Freedom instead? You
But
know
you
what I
gotta
mean?
think as
It's
well.
like,
It's like when they brought out
Which
the levels and stuff, and a lot of the community members complained about how they put this many years into the game, and all of a sudden now they're gonna have to sweat public matches so they can play as an officer or get a Lamar.
But give them credit. They listened to the
And they did.
community
Yeah, they
and
did.
changed
They
it.
did. They did. Yeah.
It wasn't like this is it and nothing will
Yeah.
ever change.
And
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people were just like were just throwing shade at them in the community Discord, and then they were just like, "Yeah, we've listened to your feedback, and we're gonna add a loyalty system." You know, sometimes you just have to.
And the feature just to turn it on or off on
Yeah,
your
yeah, that as
server.
well.
I mean,
And I mean, you don't even need to turn it off anymore, because like everyone, pretty much the majority of the people that I don't want to say it like that, but the majority of people that matter are high enough ranks anyway. You know what I mean? So you don't
we
need to have
understand
it
what you
turned
mean,
off.
Gilla.
Yikes.
All right, so we're pretty much coming up on the hour mark. So what we're gonna do is we'll go down the list. Plus, we'll include you too. Me as well. You've been here for a whole like 7 minutes. It's
Been
been
here
a
for a
long.
very long time.
It's been a long ride. And you
Yeah.
can say any final remarks, say your farewells, and then we can close off the second EU
Kill
podcast.
those socks.
So we'll go down. So starting off with Dobbs.
Final remarks. Yeah, I think something what we didn't mention was having like weather variety of seasons and like snow maps in snow or different seasons. That would be pretty cool. But that's just a personal thing. But I think yeah, I don't have much to add. Just something to retain the older players who've been around a long time. I know there's a lot of what feels like fatigue, like game fatigue. So some fresh, either thinking around events, how to make events, spice those up, or just introducing new mechanics from the dev side. I think that's the big thing for me. But yeah.
All right, thank you, Cloud.
Yeah, just keeping us up to date is what I think, should be the best bet for the devs. A roadmap or, like you said, monthly updates, something like that, just to keep us in the loop. And hopefully that map editor that they talked about comes out sooner than later. And then final thing, I guess would just be HD's 3-year anniversary is next month on October 1st. So hope you guys are at the EU and NA events. We'll be celebrating. So see y'all there.
All right, Victor.
I would say that like immediately what comes to mind to summarize what my thoughts when it comes to the development right now for the game is there is a lot of potential and there's a lot of imagination. What I do like is that the community does have so many different ideas and so many things they want to change, etc. But like the developers can only do so much. So I would say in some regard you can have like the community vote for different things. Do we want this? Do we want that? Like all it really needs, and I think the biggest thing for War Rights right now when it comes to the future of the game and how successful it will be is communication with the developers and how much they are willing to engage themselves in the community. Yeah.
Like that. James.
Yeah, I'll say transparency is important, but as I've outlined, it's difficult when you have such a few people to be able to do all the jobs that you currently have. But yeah, I just hope the community continues to grow. That's something that we majorly need is growth in this community, both EU and NA. I think we just need to foster more interested people, and whether that be through new updates, then so be it. But I mean, there may need to be some more PRing of the game to get it to a wider audience. But again, that's difficult because it's such a niche area of history for some of us. So I mean, not for Americans obviously, but for us in Europe, it's quite a niche historical perspective. So yeah. And thanks, Killer, for hosting us. That's my final remark.
Real quick, do you think the devs should work with like the War of Rights sort of YouTubers like BLN and Apollo and Cody if he ever returns and Jehovah and people like them? Do you think they should like work with them a bit?
Sure.
I
To
mean,
get like
sure.
to get the game out there
Yeah.
more?
I mean, a bit more, but they have been the biggest allies
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
game
they
for
have,
being
yeah.
effectively a free PR. I mean, many years ago, there were you could find hardly anything on YouTube about War of Rights. Now you can search it in, and there's hundreds of videos from all sorts of people. So it's, I understand what you mean. Yeah, if they worked a little bit closer, maybe if we're talking about them being more transparent, maybe conversations with, showing little teaser clips and bits, then that might be something that's more visual and more better to showcase what they're doing. But that's up to them ultimately, isn't it?
Lucian?
Yeah, I mean, mainly just focusing on stuff that is not useless, like horses and the whole fence shit, and the beard to uniforms, all that bullshit that's useless. Making stuff that's actually useful and good for the game, like new maps and such. Things that actually get players to play the game.
Boss, you haven't really heard anything that we've been talking about previously, but do you have anything?
I can assume based off of these conclusions that these things that are being talked about are things that we've talked about for years. The devs will never grow in their transparency. They'll give us maybe an update and be like, "We'll be more transparent, guys. We promise. We're sorry for not being transparent before. We're going to be the most transparent. We're going to be the most transparent we can be, and we're going to be stupid." And then that's about it. I love the devs. Don't get me wrong. Well, I love is a strong word. I don't hate the devs. It's just that I don't know. The game is not stale. They just need to get that map creator out.
Yep.
And then we'll be good. Because what they're doing is they're basically doing the Bethesda approach, I feel like, and giving the content to us to try and fix their mistakes. Because Starfield is a shit game. And War of Rights is objectively a shit game. So, yeah.
Vault 1861.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have kind of covered all bases. So I will just say, we've actually had I think we hit up to 20 on the live thing, which is pretty good for considering. I think I might be the most at one time on a podcast actually, because they're normally only around like 11 or 12.
Ever in any podcast.
Podcast ever. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, 22.
Welcome to the BLN podcast. It is the podcast.
So we're
of all time.
Yeah, we're gonna take over Joe Rogan. Just wait, man. And yeah, so thank you to the people that were listening, and you guys for coming. Feel free.
This is Killer's preamble to getting an award for best host on a podcast.
Killer's
I'll be
Emmy.
posting sign-ups and stuff up for the podcasts in the Battleline Network Discord. Anyone that is listening, if you want to get in on a podcast, join the Battleline Network Discord. It will be in the description most likely because it's an easy plug for them. And yeah, go to the Rules channel and get the podcast role and sign up when I put the sign-ups up. We do EU and NA podcasts. Quick cough break.
Is there any inkling of what the next topic will be?
No, actually, I haven't went through. I've got this long ass lit. Me and Eagle used ChatGPT to come up with War of Rights podcast topics, and this was on it. This one was on it.
Okay, I have one last thing though.
Mm-hmm.
I saw someone very specific in chat. Comrade, you suck.
But anyway,
yeah.
Thank you all for coming.
Thanks for hosting.
God save the king.
Thanks, Killer.
No.
And I'll see you all the next podcast.
Republic.
Free Trump.